Hello and thanks for joining us here on France 24 for France in Focus. I'm Tom Burgess-Watson. Coming up in the programme, the plot thickens. More revelations emerge about who knew what and when regarding the surveillance of the former president Nicolas Sarkozy. And rising temperatures, rising pollution levels. A hazardous smog cloaks a number of regions of France, prompting some to take drastic action. And a glimmer of hope. Medical researchers publish the findings of a promising study into the treatment of children with autism. First, as people across France gear up to take part in municipal elections later on this month, a political storm is brewing here in Paris. Well, several days have passed since it emerged that investigators were tapping the telephone of the former president Nicolas Sarkozy in a bid to find evidence that Gaddafi bankrolled his 2007 election campaign. And now it's come to light that certain members of the government of President François Hollande knew more about that surveillance than they originally let on.
What began as a potentially explosive scandal for France's opposition has become one for the government as well. Justice Minister Christiane Taubira has refused to resign over just how much she knew and when concerning the phone tapping of former President Nicolas Sarkozy.
No, I didn't lie. Over the past days and the past 24 hours, I've heard from the same paragons of virtue and justice who have asked for my resignation. Let me answer them. I will not resign.
The French paper Le Monde revealed last week that Sarkozy's telephone had been tapped as part of a judicial probe into alleged illegal election financing. His UMP Conservative Party says the bugging is politically motivated. France's Prime Minister stated on Tuesday he and the Justice Minister were informed 2 weeks ago but did not know the content of the recordings. This contradicts Taubira's earlier statement she learnt of the bugging at the same time as the French people. Her change in tack drew fierce accusations from the opposition.
The Justice Minister lied. She cannot, in this context, remain in her job. The lie makes her resignation unavoidable.
Taubira insists she was misunderstood. Prime Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault leapt to her defence.
She remains in the government. What should be instead called into question are these rumours of misinformation.
The socialists slam the attacks as diversion tactics. The opposition UMP has been rocked by a series of scandals in recent weeks, upsetting its campaign for local elections late this month. The polls are seen as a key test midway through President Hollande's 5 years. The opposition urges him to make a statement. So far, he's kept his distance from the latest wrangling.
Now, Paris, like much of the rest of France, has been treated to several days of glorious springtime weather. But with the higher temperatures has come a spike in the level of pollution. And that's left the young, the old, and those suffering from asthma at particular risk. Well, many are calling on the government to take urgent measures to address the matter, but others have already decided enough is enough. They're taking legal action.
Sun, warm temperatures, it feels like spring's come early to Paris. But smog is spoiling the picture postcard view. Air pollution has reached dangerous levels in France's capital city and in several northern and central parts of the country. The unseasonably warm weather is being blamed.
In winter conditions, we experience cooler temperatures at night. But the atmosphere stays warm, particularly during the day, because of the heat from the sun. So this creates a kind of a blanket over Paris and pollution gets trapped.
A group of health and environment NGOs have filed a complaint for endangering others, accusing the government of not doing enough to reduce pollution.
The complaint aims to establish who is responsible for a situation in which the law hasn't been respected and which is endangering the lives of millions of French people.
This week, the city of Paris offered its Véli bike rentals and Autolib electric car services for free, an attempt to encourage Parisians to find alternatives to cars powered by gas and diesel. In some areas, French authorities are also lowering speed restrictions and prohibiting heavy-duty vehicles. A good start, but not enough to make a long-term difference.
These measures don't go far enough. Reducing speed limits is the right direction to go in, but it won't lead to a major reduction in pollution. What's needed is a group of measures that tackle all causes of pollution.
Health officials say the elderly, children, asthmatics and people with heart problems could have trouble breathing.
The only warning to give really is for people already ill, people with breathing difficulties or a chronic heart complaint. Shouldn't overdo it outdoors. Those patients generally won't be out jogging anyway. There's no problem for other people. They are better off going out than staying inside because the pollution is often worse in buildings than it is outside.
The European Commission has launched legal proceedings against France for failing to deal with air pollution. Last December, the government announced a plan to clamp down on the health hazard.
Medical researchers here in France have published their findings from a study which offers fresh hope for the treatment of children with autism, namely by administering a simple diuretic drug. Well, doctors say it's far too soon to be calling this a miracle cure, but we're going to meet one young man now who took part in those trials and for whom the effects appear to have been promising.
Virgile is having his afternoon snack, and that's when he pops the pill, which has changed his behaviour significantly. He's been taking a diuretic, bumetanide, for 3 years as part of a trial.
He didn't look at us, even when we talked to him. He looked at his feet, and now he looks in our eyes. He talks to us.
A sharp contrast to his habit of walking up and down in his room.
He used to walk up and down like this for up to half an hour at a time for no reason. We had no idea what was going on. We just felt so helpless.
Diuretic medicines reduce fluid buildup and, for autistic children, appear to correct a chemical imbalance in the brain. Neurons under normal circumstances absorb chlorine and then reject it. In people with autism, it builds up. A diuretic can remove the excess. Virgile's progress in school is astonishing.
He writes well now. He used to write in capitals a year ago. Now he's doing joined-up writing.
The 9-year-old boy still has a teaching assistant with him in class to help. And he's still not able to cope at times. He has regular appointments in hospital in Brest in western France. Eric Lemonnier, his doctor, is spearheading the research into the treatment on 60 autistic children aged 3 to 11.
Things have to be confirmed, obviously. But the more we advance in this research, the more we see that the confirmation is there. I think we're onto something interesting.
Caution then, but also hope for those with autism and their families.
Here in France, they call them les bobos, the bourgeois bohèmes, people from a middle-class background, but whose appearance might suggest otherwise. That's because they tend to opt for clothes, cars and parts of town that many would consider more shabby than chic. Well, a new book has just hit the shelves. It's entitled La République Bobo, and it's generating both discussion and amusement.
Nana Kabounin lives in a converted print workshop. Today she's sorting through the organic potatoes she bought in bulk. She'll distribute them to her like-minded neighbours, supermarket-avoiding, conscious consumers.
It's not about money. I used to have it. I no longer do. I probably do live in a simpler way that I have done in the past. But it's the way of life I want. I buy directly from producers, bypassing big supermarkets.
Environmentally friendly Nana has fitted a wood-burning fire in the living room. She found her second-hand furniture at Bobo bric-a-brac markets. Nana lives in Bagnolet, a Paris suburb traditionally known as working class. The social makeup is now changing, with the arrival of Bobos looking for cheap rents. Even the local shopkeeper has started selling organic produce.
A lot of people have moved here who want to live and eat healthily.
It's a similar story in neighbouring suburb Montreuil, where disused factories and warehouses have turned into Bobo living quarters and art studios. Property prices here have tripled in the last 12 years, but they're still cheaper than in Paris.
Properties don't stay on the market for long. People like it here. Families, artists. The client base we call Bobo. I'm choosing my words carefully.
Belleville in northeast Paris is one of the original Bobo lands. 30 years ago, most of the neighbourhood was home to immigrants and low-paid workers. Today, delicatessens sit alongside Chinese shops and halal butchers. This local, a self-proclaimed Bobo, has written a book about the social group.
Bobos contribute to social diversity in some neighborhoods. Some people say their arrival means ghettos are broken down, as some links between social groups allows them to live better together, even if it isn't always easy or ideal.
Bobos are educated folk with one foot in the bohemian world of creativity and the other in the highbrow, ambitious realm of the bourgeois. Detached from reality or not, they're a phenomenon that looks here to stay.
Well, this is where we leave you for this week's edition of France in Focus. Thanks for watching. Do stay tuned to France 24.